so maybe somebody listening here can help me with my situation. I'm a 29-year-old female working at a hospital in Philadelphia as a nurse. I've been at my job for almost 7 years now, and for the most part, everything's been fine, except for now. I work the night shifts, and about a month ago, we had a patient, David, who would continually say that he would have someone visiting him at night. He said this visitor was always dressed in full black, and that he had no face. Now, David was in his 90s, and he was dying from heart disease, so I told him that it was nothing to worry about, and that it was most likely just a dream. As the days went by, David went from saying that he was having a visitor at night to this visitor actually speaking with him. He would say that the visitor told him the person in room 109 was going to die. Again, I dismissed this as old age and that his mind was withering. Well, not shortly after this conversation, the patient in room 109 ended up jumping out of the window and falling to their death. It was horrible. I did find this extremely bizarre, but I thought there was no way it could be linked to this nightly visitor. Then, a few days after this happened, I was making my rounds at night. I was making sure David was okay when, this time, he told me the visitor told him that he was going to die next. A little bit freaked out, I tried my best to calm David down and tell him that would not happen. He was in good hands here at the hospital. Well, 2 days after that conversation, David was found dead in his room. The doctors ruled that it was cardiac arrest, but I actually witnessed the orderlies removing the body, and David's mouth was wide open, almost like whatever he saw last before he died was absolutely monstrous. And now here's my problem. We have a new patient in David's room, a guy by the name of Jacob. We were speaking the other day when he told me that he's been having a visitor at night. He said that this visitor was dressed in all black and that he's faceless. He said the visitor says that I'm going to die next. Guys, this was literally 2 days ago, and I am absolutely losing my mind. I'm clearly still alive, but I am truly terrified for my life. If it was true for the patient in room 109 and true for David, why would it not be true for me? Please, help me. I work at the hospital in the nursery, and this is by far the most terrifying experience that I've had working there. It was a Saturday in mid-June of 2019. We were really busy that month with mothers giving birth. Well, I was assigned to this one family, the Stewarts. It was the firstborn child, a little girl by the name of Lily. Mrs. Stewart's pregnancy went perfectly smooth, and there were no complications. All their aunts and uncles were there to celebrate as well, and it was a very beautiful moment. As a procedure, it's my job to take the newborn to our nursery to monitor their vitals and just to make sure that everything is okay before the child heads home. Well, I placed little Lily in our nursery bed and started to do some tests. She was a sweet angel, not even crying when, suddenly, a man walked in. At first I thought it was another nurse or doctor, but I had never seen this man before. He walked in confidently, like he knew what he was doing. He made a beeline for little Lily and I. I started thinking this could be one of the uncles or relatives of the Stewarts, but even still, there was no visitors allowed back here. I started to say this to the man when he pulled out a knife. He told me to shut the fuck up, grab Lily out of the nursery bed, and sprinted out of the room. I screamed like a maniac and followed suit, not caring about my life at all. Our nursery is on the first floor, so when I exited the room, I could see this man making a beeline for the exit doors. I screamed for someone to stop that man. He's stealing a child. What happened next happened so fast that I could barely process it. Mr. Stewart was suddenly in front of the doors, blocking the exit with a gun raised and yelling for the man to get on the ground and put the child down slowly. The man did as he was told and was eventually laying flat on the ground with his hands sprawled out. I was going to call the police until I found out that Mr. Stewart was a police officer. And here's the crazier part. This wasn't just some random attempt at kidnapping. The man who tried to abduct Lily, who I will leave anonymous, had been previously arrested by Mr. Stewart and had served over 6 years in prison. When he was released and back on the streets, the first thing that he did was to enact revenge on the one who had put him in there. The kidnapper is now back in jail for at least another 10 years, I believe. But I'm glad that Lily and her family are okay, and I never want to experience something like that again in my life. I've worked as a doctor in the ER for over 10 years now, and this story absolutely takes the top spot as the most terrifying thing that I've experienced. And as I said, I'm an ER doctor. I usually work the late night shifts, and believe me, you see some crazy shit at these times. But in this story, it was a slow night. I was in my office working on some files when I got a call to the ER room ASAP. When I arrived, the paramedics were putting a man on the operating table. They quickly gave me the diagnosis and said that he had gone into cardiac arrest. He was foaming at the mouth and shaking on the table. We wasted no time, and me and my team got straight to work on the man. And after about 10 minutes of trying to resuscitate him, our monitors showed that he was flatlining until ultimately he passed away on our table. It's one of the worst parts of my job when we aren't able to save someone. My nurses started to fill out paperwork on the time of death and personal information. Apparently, he was homeless. We could not find any relatives or family to contact. And when the paramedics brought him in, they said he was found in a back alley. It was heartbreaking, really. I was speaking to my nurses directly outside the room where the man had just died. We were going over the specifics when the ER door opened. To this day, I still cannot explain it, but somehow, some way, the man who had just died on my operating table was standing in front of us. Fully alive, fully conscious, and fully receptive, he asked us for some water. We quickly brought him over to a table, sat him down in a chair, and then gave him some water. I sat there with him, baffled and stunned, and watched as he drank the water. When he finished the last drop, he put the cup down, looked at me, and said, "The river runs red with your blood." His body then went limp, and he collapsed onto the floor. We tried to resuscitate him there on the spot. We did everything that we could, but he ultimately ended up dying. I have never experienced something like this in my entire career. This happened almost 5 years ago, and I still do not understand his cryptic message about the river running red with my blood as he died. Anyone with any further explanation of that message would greatly be appreciated. Thank you for listening.